we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on The Trouble with Tribbles, one of the most iconic episodes of Star Trek, the original series. Hey guys, how's it going? We're Earl Grey Trekkie's getting his dinner, so he's not here right now, but he's there represented. Oh, and my dinner just walked in, so hold on one second.
Dinner. It's 3:00 in the afternoon. We're not in the EU.
It's 3 in the afternoon, or it's 8 p.m. in the evening here. So yeah, it's.
Well, I have to apologize if there's any background noise from me because there's actually like 30 people in my house right now. There's a baby shower going on in the rest of the house. I am hiding in my cave.
Oh, that's funny. Your mic could be a little closer to your mouth, actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a good distance because I know I project sometimes. So.
No, it's cool. I didn't mean dinner. I meant my tea.
Oh, okay. Well, you've got to be quite. You've got to. But some people in the UK call dinner
dinner tea. That's right. Oh, maybe that's what I did by accident.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm joined by the lovely Dadmiral, Mr. Ian. Nice to see you. That's a cool shirt you've got on. Your phaser type 2 shirt.
There you go.
Very awesome.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
And of course, Ruben's here. Hello, Mr. Martian.
Wearing the same shirt from last night from Starfleet Boy After Dark because it was on my chair, so I just put it on.
That's all right. No one can smell you through the YouTube, so it's fine. And you can always just do the trick. Have you ever done this? I've sometimes in a pinch, I've turned my my t-shirt inside out, and then I can wear it an extra day.
Well, the good thing about me is that I almost never wear shirts with anything on them. It's just a color. So I can just say, oh, it's just another red shirt I have, man. I just have a bunch of red shirts.
Yeah.
Hello.
I just spent a lot of my money on Star Trek t-shirts recently. So, yeah.
Hello in the audience to Jace. Chicken sandwich and coffee hold the Tribbles. Yes, nice, awesome screen name today. Immortal Technique, and then Blue's here, and so is Captain RGD. So yeah, some of the comments, let's see here. So greetings, gents. Hello, everybody. There is a face at the end of that phaser. Yeah, kind of like a little. Yeah.
It's like a little exocomp face.
It's like Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah, it's very true.
Like he's like
Thomas the Phaser. Captain RGD says Sisko and Picard both met Kirk. This is correct.
It is.
That is correct. Yes. So let's get to it. Do either of you gents want to give the episode summary?
Go ahead, Admiral.
Oh.
You like that?
Okay, I'll give it a go.
Yes, nice.
Yeah, that was nicely. That was the good swerve there. I thought really nicely swerved. But yeah, okay. The Enterprise get called to Space Station K7, which is near the border of the Klingon neutral zone. While doing a briefing with Chekhov, they get an alarm that is basically puts the whole sector on red alert. They get there, and it's Faris is his name. Is called it because he wants to guard Quattro Triticale. Quattro Triticale is a mixture of wheat and rye and can be done perennially, so it can be done all the year round. And they're going to use it to grow on Sherman's planet. Sherman's planet is, shall we say, a bone of contention between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. Both want to make it their own. So during this time, you meet the Grand Cyrano Jones through there, and Cyrano Jones is there, and he brings a thank you, Blue. I've just seen the comment. A Tribble, to which Uhura takes a real liking to, and he gives it to Uhura. And then we have the fun. The Tribbles start breeding, they start taking over, Klingons appear, and they come on K7. The Klingons insult Kirk, but Scotty won't take anything of it, but obviously Chekhov does. But when they insult the Enterprise, that's it. Then the fight starts. We have the actual fight scene. It then goes to Kirk asking who's hit through the first punch. Nobody will do it. After sending everybody back to their quarters, Scotty admits that he threw the first punch. And you can see how Kirk's reaction to Scotty, because he's saying, "Oh, so you hit them after they insulted me?" "Oh, no, sir, no, not there." And then he said, "Well, when did you hit them?" And he said, "They called the Enterprise a garbage scow." And he said, "This can only take so much." Through there, you have a lot of to-in and throw-in. We find out that the aide is a Klingon, and that's held by the Tribbles. The Klingons get sent away with the tails between their legs, and Scotty sends all the Tribbles to the Klingons, and that is the end. And they have a jolly good laugh at the end of it, because it was no Tribble at all. So there you go. It
was no Tribble at all. Oh my gosh! I totally. Normally I send hop on, Sub-Commander. Normally I do this to Ian, where I think I send him the link and then I didn't send the link. And this time I thought I sent the link to our friend Sub-Commander Tall. So please, I apologize for that. Please hop on.
You should just start like a little Facebook message group of the regulars that you send links to.
I just messaged him to please come on. He's like, I could just hang out in the chat. He's probably offended now. I'm so sorry, Sub-Commander. This happens to everyone. You're not alone, so don't worry. I've done it to Ruben. Apparently for all of Picard, like the second half of Picard, I just forgot to send Ruben an invite.
He forgot.
Yeah. You know what? I know exactly how you feel, Ruben. Yeah, you forget.
It's all right. I'm gonna watch Picard season 2. It's on. Yeah. That's when I'm gonna start my own channel.
It's not until we do something in the chat saying, "Hi, everybody." He's going, "Oh no, I've not sent the link."
Oh wait.
He's gonna be on a show one day by himself.
Oh my gosh, I'm like goofing. I'm goofing like a million times here. I also sent him the wrong.
You sent him the wrong link.
I sent him the YouTube link. I hope you're laughing.
Did you send him the OnlyFans link?
No, the OnlyFans link. All right, you guys. Can you guys start the discussion while I go and get the link, the correct link here? And,
Starfleet Boy screws it up completely.
He's so terrible at this. This is so terrible. Oh my goodness.
Brilliant.
I'm like sweating and blushing right now. Okay.
Pressure's on. Nobody's watching. You're all right. This has got to be. Not only has this got to be one of the funniest episodes of Starfleet Boy,
always every week,
but it is definitely the funniest episodes of Star Trek as well.
I was rushing. I was like driving, and then I was trying to listen. I don't know if you guys saw, but Trekker Prize Gary. Gary. Yeah, he did a live stream, so he's back. He's sort of back.
Well, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't spoken to Gary in a long time. I sent him an email around about the beginning of the year, but I haven't spoken to Gary. But it was, when I got the indication flash up, I thought, oh wow, Gary.
Yeah, it was very really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
So I was trying to be in that live chat, and then I was also trying to send out the invite, and things just happened in my brain.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was busy, so I'll be going back to listen to that later.
You got some comments here. Dadmiral looks extra nice today.
Thank you. The guns.
You gotta just do the guns. I think Dadmiral looks extra healthy in white. This might be a good look for you there with those white t-shirts. Kirk was so hurt that Scotty wouldn't didn't defend him. But will break all protocol for the Enterprise. Yeah, absolutely. I actually think that that's one of those defining kind of moments.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
I thought, you know what? For 1 second, I thought he'd frozen because he went.
Sorry. I have to close all the other windows.
Actually, there's an advert in the UK at the moment where somebody's actually they're doing one of these. Well, they're doing one of these, but it's an office meeting, and somebody really hates their kitchen, and they're doing it. Oh, what we're doing, and then she goes like that. He goes, oh no, she's frozen, but the cat's walking past.
Where is Cake's eternal chicken sandwich and coffee hold the Tribbles? Hopefully they'll come along. And Sub Commander Tall's on his way. He has to send it through Romulan security to make sure it's a safe link. And then once it gets back to him and it's been cleared by the Tal Shiar, he'll be able to join. The next comment here is from Chris Collins. Yay. Trials and Tribulations is the better of the two episodes. I prefer this and DS9 episode over the animated episode. So, wait, you're saying that you...
He prefers...
of all the Tribble episodes, this is
he puts the animated bottom and then he puts DS9 top and there.
This one at 2.
Hey, Sub Commander, so sorry.
Hey. The Tribble trilogy.
No worries at all.
Welcome to the club.
No,
this has happened. Yeah, to Port Ian. This has happened to Port Ian a few times, and Ruben, and
there was some interference from the Romulan neutral zone, and I couldn't break through, but finally managed to get through. So great to be here.
Don't stick up for him. He forgot.
Spatial anomalies and such.
He's juggling a lot of balls. That's no problem. A lot of Tribbles.
A lot of Tribbles.
That's enough about Sohan's private life.
There we go.
He actually has a camera below his desk where he records his OnlyFans at the same time.
Is that another one of his Starfleet Boy After Dark? Is it?
He has a Starfleet Boy camera, OnlyFans camera.
Wow. Multitasking.
By the way, Starfleet Boy does have an OnlyFans. We don't know what we're going to do with it yet. It depends. So just if you are curious, go ahead and subscribe to our OnlyFans. I was thinking we could do like where I read from Star Trek novels or something like that in like a skimpier outfit or something like, I figured, like that might be something interesting on OnlyFans, or I could wear like, Klingon bondage gear, we'll figure it out. we'll have to figure this one out. So yeah.
Well, we could all wear those outfits from that first season TNG episode, the Ito.
That's an OnlyFans thing if I ever heard of one.
Oh, that woman that Q creates for Worf.
Now the one where like if they break any law, then it's the death penalty, where Wesley crashes over the fence, and it's
where Wesley lands in the plants.
Yeah, they're like wearing half a roll of toilet paper, and that's it, or maybe not that much, but
that's the one.
Chicken sandwich and coffee hold the Tribbles says, I watched Trials and Tribulations a couple weeks ago and The Trouble with Tribbles yesterday. I found I had a much better time watching the TOS episode. Both are great though.
Yeah, they are great. I think to be honest, I think Trouble with Tribbles is like, it's up there when you put like the top 10 of Star Trek episodes to watch, TOS episodes, you put that in there. But I think where we were saying like with Khan, Wrath of Khan made it more the Trouble with Tribbles, Trial and Tribulations also elevates the Trouble with Tribbles.
This episode, yeah, it's true. It's in an interesting way. I kept looking for Worf and Cisco and Jadzia around. I have to admit, I was like, where are they? They're got to be there. They got to be back there somewhere. It'd be really funny if just for shits and giggles, someone did do a alternate remastered cut where you do actually have
O'Brien and Bashir in the lineup and all that.
Yeah. And stuff like that just in the background.
If somebody actually edited all that, put all that into the OS episode.
It'd be fun.
Maybe it's been done. That's a good idea.
Oh yeah, we'll have to. I bet it might be on YouTube. If it's been done, it's on YouTube for sure. Yeah. So we'll have to look for it. What else? Let's see. So the TAS episode, which we'll talk about when we go to our TAS discussions in more detail. Also watched more Trouble yesterday. It was a nice addition. Chris says
the giant Tribble in the command.
at a comic convention a couple years ago, Florida SuperCon. There's this cool guy dressed as the Tribble. What is he? A Tribble hawk? A Tribble eater?
Oh yeah, that little predator guy. Yeah, I don't know what he.
Yeah. So that was cool,
and
the gigantic. He had that on top of the gigantic. Like his whole body was like a Tribble. Yeah, that's the cool. Pink Tribble, which is very cool. Was there a funnier episode of Star Trek the original series compared to this one? Was I Mud funnier? I think this is the funny. I think this seems to stand out as the funniest one.
Yeah, I think this one has overall comedy in it. Even Spock has a good line where when he says about Kirk not believing his ears.
Right.
So there was that line as well. So I think everybody gets their day in the sun type thing in this episode.
Yeah,
it's not Spock and Kirk.
And when we talked about I Mud a few weeks ago, I feel like the humor there, it's a little campier in a way. Here it seems a little bit more natural, a little more organic out of the situations that they're in. Piece of the action is also pretty funny, but I think this is really the best bona fide kind of comedy episode of the original series.
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm glad they didn't do too many comedic episodes. I mean, it wasn't really their. I mean, they were excellent at it, but part of what makes it so good is that it was rare for it to happen. And I know that was the source of one of the reasons why Gene Kuhn left, who is the producer at this time, because he kept wanting to inject more comedy in, and Roddenberry was busy, and then he came back and then said, "What are you doing to the show? This is too much humor," and they kind of butted heads there.
Yeah, because before Lower Decks, there was never any comedy in Star Trek. We just didn't have that,
right?
Also, watched The Trouble with Edward and hated it. Have you guys seen The Trouble with Edward?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, I have. They've sort of changed it, but at least with The Trouble with Tribbles, it was like every 12 hours. Where I think with The Trouble with Edward, they ramped that up even more, so that they were producing sort of like within about 5 minutes of being born. So I think they went a bit OTT on that one in comparison. I think Tribbles has that right level of there. I think with The Trouble with Edward, they tried a bit too hard. I think, but it's still. I mean, there are elements of it that are still very funny and still very good.
It supposes. I don't remember now. I should have. Yeah, it's a short trek, and I should have rewatched it because I think it proposes like a Tribble origin story or something like that, or at least
Edward injects his DNA into it and that's where they start replicating and all that stuff, because it was there to become. It was meant there to be like a food source. Edward was using it as a food source for somebody, because he was saying that you could eat them and it would be like a chicken nugget or something like that. So,
except they seem weightless, so they have nothing to eat.
Yeah,
they throw them
I think they're
around
heavy. I think some of them are heavy. Those bigger ones. This one feels like a chicken nugget.
No, in the show though, if you watch the way they move them around, for the most part, like they seem like they have no weight to them at all.
Yeah.
No, they should have added something inside to give it a little heft.
Well, most of them were just fabric, but some of them they took.
That's what I figured, but
I mean, there's a few. The ones that you see moving independently, they took. I think it was like a toy dogs, perhaps, and cut the head off and then wrapped some fabric around them. Those were probably a little heavier.
You could actually tell that one has the leg. You could kind of see the legs of those toy dogs in that.
I think if they would have put like a golf ball inside the bigger fabric ones, it would have given them some.
Well, I don't think Shatner would have appreciated that when they all fell on him. If there was,
well, that seems different.
Let's put a bowling
golf balls or bowling balls. Welcome back, Robbie. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Adam.
No, Robbie, how are you? Yes, let's say hello first. But
I'm good. I'm glad to be talking about this episode. I heard that you were saying that the comedy really works well for this episode, and it was better maybe than I'm a bit more sophisticated. And I think I do really like this episode, but I don't hold it as high as a lot of other TOS episodes. I do still enjoy it, and I like comedy. I don't know why that is. I feel like it's almost written like it could be a Harry Mudd story.
I mean, there's definitely similarities between Cyrano Jones and Harry Mudd. And
when I was a little kid, I actually thought Cyrano Jones was Harry Mudd, and then I was like, oh wait, that's not Harry Mudd. I thought
that's why
like he was
you never
Harry.
see him again in Star Trek because he's taken him 17 years to pick up all the Tribbles.
That's right.
Well, he'll come back in the animated series, of course.
That's right. And the guy Stanley Adams, he wrote The Mark of Gideon, which is a 3rd season episode. So the character doesn't appear, but the professional is there. So I don't know. I mean, I find the pacing of the episode really good, and I like seeing them involved in a low stakes conflict. I mean, Kirk, he's so kind of he gets like kind of stuffy and imperious and impatient in this episode because the stakes are so low. He really doesn't care about this mission at all, and I think that's an interesting source of humor to see them doing something a little more bureaucratic and pedestrian, kind of run of the mill sort of Starfleet work versus something that's going to take out half the galaxy or something like that. So
kind of like the space patrol type of thing. And William Shalert, who plays Barris, is really great. He's been in a ton of stuff, and including Inner Space. I think he was in that movie. And
this episode's studded. It's littered with people who have been in 100 things. It's crazy.
Yeah, because the one who plays like the second Klingon, I remember him in Rocky IV.
Half of the episode I spent Wikipediaing people because I was like, I've seen this guy somewhere. I
think he was also in The Next Generation, Michael Pataki, the guy who played the second Klingon. I forget his name, but
he was in the TNG episode Too Short a Season. He plays Karnas. That's right.
Yeah, totally different character. But...
Yeah, that's cool that he came back. I didn't realize that. That's with Admiral, another sketchy Admiral, who does something. But yeah, I guess we must. Well, you already mentioned Stanley Adams, who was in one of his most famous roles was in Breakfast at Tiffany's. We have William Campbell, who of course played Trelane previously. Yep, and I think Koloth is awesome as a character, but he's more awesome in DS9. I feel like they made these guys like even more epic by that time. It's a shame we never got them in the films. Although Christopher Lloyd was great, I mean, like as Scrooge, and then we have I mentioned William Shalert, but you can look him up. He's just been in like just about everything.
Yeah, I remember him from the Patty Duke show. That's the identical cut. That's probably before it was before my time too, but I remember the reruns of it.
The reruns
of
that.
Totally likable guy.
I noticed Joseph Pevney is directing a ton of episodes this season. Like I keep seeing him.
Yeah, they alternate. If you follow in production order, he and Mark Daniels will alternate for most of the second season.
They're tied for most
episodes.
Yeah, he was well known for actually coming in on time and often under budget. So
they
frequently you could see why.
Yeah,
he is like close up obsessed. Which is cheap.
Yeah.
Dan Leckie over check him out, the Scotch
Trekker.
Yeah, thank you. The Scotch Trekker. I wasn't sure if it was Trekkie, but Scotch Trekker. Very cool dude. Says the trouble with Tribbles is one of the few episodes where James Doohan's shot off finger can be seen. I didn't realize that. I didn't see it. That's interesting.
Yeah, when he comes into the rec room holding the big mass of Tribbles, after Kirk finds one in his coffee and his chicken sandwich, I guess it's the finger on. It's his middle finger on his right hand.
His right hand
is missing. You can see. Yeah.
Who owns Tribbles? I own one from the VHS box set, the Tribbles episodes. Oh, I guess like they came with it. This one was given to me as a gift, and I like it. It's what's that? I guess it came in the Loot Crate, but it's a QMX one. So Yeah, I like it. QMX makes good stuff. I wish they made more Star Trek stuff. It's
I did have a Mirror Universe Tribble, but I got rid of that. I wasn't. Yeah.
What was it? What is it like? Is it spikes or something? Is it like
created a Mirror Universe and it had teeth and all that stuff?
Oh, nice.
And it couldn't get pregnant.
I didn't keep it.
Couldn't reproduce.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, it reproduces after it eats another living creature.
Yeah.
I don't like. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm reading the same thing you're reading. Yeah, I mean they all come off as kind of buffoony in the episode, but it's sort of appropriate for the episode. But yeah, for sure, people like Kor and Kang have a lot more gravitas than Koloth does. And Gene Kuhn always wanted this idea of a recurring adversary for Kirk, and they tried to get John Colicos for this role, and he wasn't available, and they wanted to then get William Campbell for another role later on, and he wasn't available. It never quite worked out, but so who knows how he would have portrayed Koloth if he would have been different if he'd come back for another appearance. But yeah, I agree, they are a little silly in this one.
Korax, though, was pretty good in the bar scene when he's insulting the humans. I thought that was like a really good kind of like. In fact, oddly, I was like watching and I was like, this is like that whole Shakespearean type of way of speaking that Klingons have. He's like calling the Enterprise a garbage.
Scowl,
yeah. And, like,
garbage.
Yeah. And Ian was already pointing out how that was like such a great scene when Scotty's the line that makes him finally crosses the line. Is when he insults the Enterprise. It didn't matter that they insulted Captain Kirk, but once you insult the Enterprise, in general, it's too far.
They insulted humans, they insulted Kirk, they insult the Enterprise, and then that's it.
And then I really like that he's like, okay, you're suspended, and you have to stay in your quarters. You're confined to quarters. And he's like, oh, really? Thank you. Now I get to catch up on my technical manuals. And I liked all that about Scotty. And Scotty had a lot of moments in this episode because at the end, also the gag at the end about beaming the Klingons, the Tribbles over to the Klingon ship.
Right.
That was like Scotty, that was funny how like McCoy and Spock and Scotty were going back and forth on that. And Scotty was so nervous about what the captain was going to think because he'd already messed up before. So I liked all that.
Yeah. Shouldn't he have been in his quarters though? What was he doing operating the transport?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the deal?
Yeah. It's a good episode for James to in.
Yeah.
Trelane makes a much better Klingon in DS9 than on TOS. Yeah, I think they all I feel like they all were better. Dan says, I prefer Spock's brain. It's funnier, I think. I don't remember. Was it intentionally funny? No, right? It was a different kind of. Yeah, it's a different kind of funny.
Yeah.
The glommer is what the thing is. I was trying to remember. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if not a swarm, what is the collective noun for Klingons?
Yeah, I don't know. Swarm works.
Swarm, well, yeah. 12 Klingons creates a swarm.
Constitutes a swarm. There you go.
Maybe they could be a killing of Klingons or
a murder.
A murder, like a murder of crows. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I'd call them a pack.
A pack. They are a pack. That's actually appropriate.
Humans are just a bunch of humans, right? So why would they be anything else but a bunch of Klingons?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
We're shiver of sharks because we're
turning Klingons into animals. We're treating them. We're just like Captain Kirk with his Klingon prejudices and biases.
Don't believe them. Don't trust them.
Although a court of Klingons would be cool.
A court of Klingons. I like that. I get another agree about Tribbles and the piece of the action. I hope we can get. I'm going to invite Dom Paris. I'm not sure he'll be able to make it on, but that's his favorite episode of Star Trek: The Original Series. Yeah, so hopefully he'll be able to come on for that one.
I've heard that when in Deep Space Nine for I guess it was the 25th or the 30th. No, the 30th anniversary when they hit on the idea of revisiting an original series episode and doing some homage that they were originally going to build off a piece of the action and return to that planet. Or they maybe have kicked around even a couple ideas before finally settling on redoing or revisiting Trouble with Tribbles, which I think was a good choice in the end. But
I think the writer who wrote The Trouble with Tribbles, he was a bit disappointed that they were basically recreating this episode for Deep Space Nine, but then he watched it and he found it funnier, so he kind of came around on it.
I think the DS9 episode actually adds to the humor. I think they did it really. I think it's one of the best sort of going back and using the actually cinematography and everything was really well done.
The writer created the Slee Stack in Land of the Lost.
That's right. And he wrote a great book about the production of this episode. Is one of the first kind of production books after the making of Star Trek. He wrote a nice description and a history of how this episode was produced. But yeah, it's almost hard to talk about. It's such a well-known episode. I mean, everybody loves it. It's on so many lists. But
I think it's always one of, as we said, it's always that like the top 10 of TOS. The Trouble with Tribbles is up there with it. But
I agree. I mean, I like that there's moments of broad humor, but there's a lot of little subtle moments too, or just little looks or little comments that pass that you almost kind of miss. I mean, I remember there's that one scene on the bridge where McCoy has finally figured out what makes these things tick, and he says, they're bisexual, reproducing at will, and blah blah blah, all that, and so they don't have to get pregnant. And Kirk gives some sort of look like, I know, but really, like, what's the point of being alive if you can't get pregnant, right? Or do the act that gets people pregnant. So, and it just passes really quick. It's very subtle. You don't and Spock sort of nods as he says it right afterwards. But there's a lot of little moments like that just really make the episode. I mean, even, it's funny to see the Tribbles fall on Kirk's head. Sure, that's, kind of broad humor, but I like a lot of the little subtle moments.
You're 100% right. I think one of the things that is so good about this episode for me is that, like, almost everyone in the crew, I guess Sulu was missing, but almost everyone in the crew gets like a moment. Like, you have Uhura has her moment where even the captain's like, shore leave, and she's like, when do you ever see me taking shore leave? Like, there's just like, and then the whole thing with Chekhov and his Russian.
Maybe in that episode called Shore Leave.
Yes, is that last time she took a shore leave? That was like a year ago, Ruben.
She didn't go she wasn't on the planet.
She wasn't on the planet. but we had that, and then Chekhov with all of his Russian pride.
Everything's done in Russia.
Yeah. Again, Scotty's a gem in this episode, but you also have all the McCoy stuff, which I really enjoyed. I like him trying to figure out how Tribbles work, and like also just like there's this weird casual thing going on at the same time where Kirk's kind of like you kind of said earlier, like he just doesn't want to be bothered with this mission, so he even has a headache and he has to go in and get like like a Tylenol or whatever. Right. And like he's just like super annoyed throughout the episode. And I also thought there was a lot of like I feel like William Shatner, of course he nailed Kirk from the beginning. Like, he's very strong and Kirk doesn't change much, but here I saw a lot more, some of his inflections and some of the way that he was speaking, like especially at the end, like for example when he's like he's like, Mr. Scott, now, like, tell me where the Tribbles are. Those were the kinds of moments where I was like, oh yeah, it's like very familiar to me, because I think since I was so obsessed with the films, I was obsessed with the film version of Kirk, and this Kirk felt a lot like those film, that film version of Kirk. So I thought that was very cool. And Spock and McCoy too, they all like seem like the way that I last remember them, if you will, which is pretty cool. So
I think you don't get the only time you get everybody have their day in the sun is Star Trek 4. You get it in the Trouble with Tribbles, but you don't get it again until all the way then till Star Trek 4, and they've brought again, and that's a more humorous film as well. So it's one of those bits. Obviously, you've got the bit about the nuclear vessels and all that type of thing, and Scotty going, "Hello, computer," and all that type of stuff, and it's there. So I think you can. There are elements of Trouble with Tribbles in there with the Voyage Home as well.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, it just proves that these guys could do anything. I mean, they could do drama, they could do comedy. They're actors.
They're awesome actors.
Yeah. Except poor Sulu missed it. Poor George Takei. He missed out in both cases. In this case, he was just about to go film Green Berets, so he wasn't in the script.
Yeah.
And then in Star Trek 4, his scene where he's supposed to meet his great-great-great-grandfather got cut because the child actor kind of froze up at the last moment, and then they lost the light. So he didn't really get.
That's right.
Yeah, he didn't really get a good scene in Star Trek 4.
His moment,
so lost out on both. But
yeah.
They actually explain how Tribble movement was done in the Sci-Fi Channel 1998-99 special edition feature. Oh, that's very cool. I remember those. Who hosted? I feel like William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy maybe hosted some of those and stuff.
Yeah, and then they had guest stars.
I think it is interesting how this story was based upon a rabbit problem in Australia. Was it based on that? I didn't know that. Where they were introduced to Australia without anything to eat rabbits. Yeah, I remember. I know Australia had like a species, but I do know there is that famous thing about the rabbits in Australia. I kind of remember that from history class.
Yeah. No, he absolutely. David Gerald wrote that was partly the inspiration of how rabbits were brought there by the English settlers as for breeding, domestication, and then some got loose and they just wreaked havoc on the landscape. So because they had no natural predators.
I remember reading years ago that they introduced this rat called the African Gambian to South Florida, and they're worried that if it ever gets into the orange groves and stuff, they'll super reproduce because that's what they eat. And then the article went on to explain these rats from New York, which also have like special, like they can squeeze into smaller spaces and whatever because they grow up in that kind of urban environment. And so the article ended with saying if the two rats ever bred together, it would create like a super
it's like
a voracious program. Rat that could get into
the con
anything.
Of rats. The Conunian rat.
And I was like, at this point, I kind of just want to see it happen, man.
Yeah.
If America's gonna go down, let's go down by rat fucking.
So they could drag that pizza slice and eat the orange trees and just
Instead of the pizza slice, it's a human head.
Our household is safe. We have a very cute cat, but that's very vicious when it comes to like other animals entering our space. We've had to save a few animals like lizards that made it into the house by accident. We've had to save them, poor things, because Arthur
tends to get little field mice.
Yeah, he's like pounce. He's like, oh, you've entered my territory.
I don't know about rats, but it's quite disgusting. But in my old house, we had this hole in the wall, and slugs kept getting into the kitchen. So sometimes I wouldn't have my socks on, and in the morning I'd be greeted with stepping on a slug.
Oh, that is gross.
Nasty.
What happens? Like, do you actually squish the poor slug and it's dead then, or do they survive usually?
Usually they were dead, so I learned to wear socks pretty quickly.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Slugs are actually awesome, but yeah, that is gross. All right, well, back to Tribbles.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nicer, Robbie, if you stepped on a Tribble and had that like soft fur instead?
I heard the tiny snap of its spine.
It doesn't have a spine. Tribbles don't have any like bones, apparently.
They don't have any Tribbles, don't have bones. It's like the little ones are like chicken nuggets, as Edward would say.
Right. Under all that fur, who knows what size a Tribble is? It's true. It could just be like a little tiny bean of flesh. It's true. I thought it was interesting hearing how fast the script was written, and then when shooting happened, everyone kept incorporating new jokes, even the actors, to the story. There's a lot of improvisation going on. That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it initially had more of a shore leave episode feel where there were humorous moments, but it was still mostly a straight episode. But as they kept revising it. And David Gerrold was a very young writer. He was not established at all. And Gene Coon was kind of mentoring him. But the point is, David Gerrold was willing to do rewrite after rewrite without being compensated. And as he did it, they just kept injecting more humor in it. And Roddenberry was out of town. I think he was trying to pitch a pilot for a Robin Hood series, believe it or not. But he wasn't really producing it this time. So Gene Coon could do. And Gene Coon, he came up, he was one of the guys that came up with the Munsters. He turned McHale's Navy from an hour-long drama TV show into a half-hour comedy. So he was always very big on the comedy. But, in this case, actually...
McHale's Navy, that's a great show.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense for why the episode really has no... As far as from a narrative structure point of view, it's really got nothing driving it. No. It's just a comedy episode. Funny things happen. There's a little bit of some sort of thing, a twist at the end with the Klingon guy.
Yeah.
But it really, none of it really matters. Like, it's very low stakes, like you said. And that makes a lot of sense to me now. Where it was just like,
you say about no narrative, but it's a well-paced episode. I think
the pacing's not bad. It's not that. It's just that up until about like 35 minutes into the episode, there's really no story happening. It's just them hanging out. No. They're just hanging out on a space station because they got called here by this asshole about the wheat, and that's it. Like, that's it. There's no, and then the insult, the fight. I mean, that really has no bearing either. Like, it just happens. Like, it's not really thrusting any sort of story forward. It's just shit's happening on this space station.
Yeah, it's only when you find out the grain is poison that then the plot kind of.
I wrote it in my notes that like, I think it was at 36 minutes. I said, it seems like they now remembered. We actually have to have a point for this episode. Like, there has to be some sort of plot to this whole thing. And they started adding the elements with I was just like,
I think I don't know.
That
I
makes
think
sense, though.
Maybe I've watched this episode enough times that I'm like filling in some of these gaps. But to me, it's pretty. It doesn't like have the sort of fast trajectory that we normally see. But there is the whole thing with like this guy, not ambassador. What's his name? Shalert's character.
Federation Undersecretary for something affairs in this quadrant. Yeah. Something like that.
He's there trying to get Sherman's planet.
So there's this whole thing with Sherman's planet hanging in the balance between and this is like, I guess, like this is really important to the Federation, and we even see that Admiral or Commodore appear, and saying to Kirk that it's like a priority. So it's sprinkled in, but you're right, it's not as like fast paced or whatever. But I do think that like it's not the emphasis either. The emphasis was clearly to have a fun time.
You can't compare the two generations of writing styles because it's different. Like, right. Styles evolve, but like think of Data's Day from TNG. It's pretty much a pure comedy episode, except it has this actually at the end of the day, it has a narrative that's moving forward very subtly while all the comedy shit's happening. And then it has an impact at the end. This is just kind of like, that guy's a Klingon. Okay.
Yeah, there's not really...
And I'm not saying anything bad. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, it's all right to have those kind of funny episodes there. And I think canon-wise, this is an interesting episode, too, because they talk about credits. Like there's little things that like canon-wise are to think about. Like, that's kind of interesting. You brought that up.
Yeah, they refer again to the Organians and the Organian peace treaty. It gets sort of reestablished.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Very cool. Shalert, apparently, I didn't realize this, was also in DS9 as a musician that hurt Quark's business by lulling them into not eating. That's cool. What episode is that?
I think it was a Bajoran. But I don't know what episode it was. No. But yeah, I remember seeing it.
I heard Chris Doohan say he and his brother. By the way, happy birthday to Chris Doohan, whose birthday was just the other day. It was like yesterday or the day before.
Oh yeah.
He says his brother, he and his brother were on the set during this episode. They were playing on the shuttlecraft set and told not to move. Oh, that's so cool. Imagine growing up on the set of Star Trek.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, Adam Nimoy was there a few times as well.
Oh,
wasn't
that's true.
I just recently watched the For the Love of Spock documentary again, and it's quite funny to see basically that Adam Nimoy was brought up on that set for a while.
I got to chat with him with Adam Nimoy right after I saw For the Love of Spock on a flight. I went to a con. I covered a con like a few weeks after that, and ran into Adam Nimoy when there was like nobody at the con. It was like dead, and I had my press badge, so I was like, "Oh, Mr. Nimoy, let's," and we just chit chatted for like 10 minutes about the whole thing. It was really cool.
Oh, that's great.
I wish I had it recorded so I could have turned it into an article, but
yeah,
it was pretty cool little hangout.
Yeah, I wonder if any of those props, the old Tribbles, I mean, if they're still around, if they're worth anything. I was just reading a story in the Mark Cushman book that the guy who plays, what's his name? Arn Darvin. Charlie Brill is the name of the guy who plays him. Anyway, he was relaying how he was on the set and, he could have taken one of the Tribbles, would have that been worth anything? And he was also not just prior, but a little bit prior to this episode, he was on the Ed Sullivan show that the Beatles were on. And he was, backstage. He was like, he and his wife did this comedy act, and they were in between the Beatles' two performances. And, no one could hear them because they're all screaming, just bring the Beatles back, bring the Beatles back. But when he was backstage, John Lennon was doodling on napkins, and he gave some to Charlie Brill. And Charlie Brill said, oh, well, I don't need this. I'll just leave this here. But can you imagine what that would be worth if he had kept that?
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. There's no easy, like I just did a Google search, like, can you buy an original Tribble, and nothing came up really right away, but I imagine because they had hundreds, that it seemed like they made hundreds of them. So I imagine they're like around the world somewhere. Like I bet they've made their way as Tribbles do.
I'll tell you what, it'd have to be well. You can imagine that they'd have to be well looked after, because I can imagine they would fall to pieces after, if they weren't looked after.
It depends how they were made. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
My nephew thinks I'm odd for being a Trekkie, yet still thinks that The Trouble with Tribbles is one of the best hours in TV history. Oh, that's pretty funny.
Okay.
Ultimately, there'll be no Tribbles at all.
Surely you can buy like a Tribble pillow. That should be a Lower Decks story, actually, where they're, maybe it's a bit dark for Lower Decks, but they're repurposing Tribble skin into pillows or something.
Well, if you watch
I was thinking you could fatten them up and then use them as a pillow, because they're also probably warm like a puppy. When you cuddle with a dog, they're like warm. So if you fatten up a Tribble, you get a nice little hot pillow.
They're like gremlins. They're like mogwais. Like if you think about it, they're
they even look
like
them when they first pop
off. When they first pop out, balls. Yeah, it's true. That's right.
Did any of you read any of the Dune books, Frank Herbert Dune books?
Yes, I read the first one.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if they have them in the first one, but
actually,
later one of the.
I've read all of the Frank Herbert ones. Sorry, I should say. I always forget that I read them, but I didn't read his son's. I didn't read When They Go On. I think, where does it stop? God Emperor,
Heretics,
right?
Heretic. No, Chapter House Dune.
Chapter House.
Chapter House Dune. One, yeah. Anyway, one of the pieces of technology he has in there is something called chair dogs, which are like these sort of organic things that they just sit. People just sit on them, but they mold to your shape, but they're alive, and you have to feed them and that kind of thing. So I don't know. The Tribbles reminded me. Well, that little segue or aside reminded me of that.
Imagine a Tribble the size of a beanbag.
Yeah, that'd be comfy.
It'd be awesome on a cold winter night. You sit on it, it's nice and warm.
And it purrs. Actually,
if you watch the animated episode,
oh, right.
The size of a beanbag.
I'm telling you.
A purring Tribble. That's kind of weird.
Get on it, science.
Dan says Spock's brain was definitely intentionally funny. It's just misunderstood. We're gonna have to investigate when we get to Spock's brain. You should come on on that episode, Dan. Spock.
It's intentionally funny, but well regarded as one of the worst episodes of Star Trek. Yeah.
Spock brought the beaming of Tribbles back in the animated series. He really likes beaming Tribbles to troll people. By the way, just Earl Grey Trekkie about that, what you were suggesting about Tribbles. They get pretty dark in the Short Treks episode, The Trouble with Edward. There's like a fake commercial for Tribbles cereal. So yeah, there's like a weird thing going on there. You guys should all at least check it out. It's only 15 minutes of your life.
Do you hope they have Tribbles in Strange New Worlds, or do you think that's taking it a bit too far?
It's like it would be an episode that I wouldn't want, but that I might like anyways. Like it's
What
not
if
necessarily like
Strange New Worlds is all about a Tribble so big it's gonna eat planets?
a planet eating Tribble. It's giant fur.
Just wondered if you're saying about Strange New Worlds, how could it do that? Because you would have thought that Spock, there would have been some recognition that Spock from the OS. So
it's the same way. It's the same way. Right, it's the same way you would do. It's the same way you would do a Kirk appearance. I know. I'm just saying, like Spock doesn't have to be. Spock doesn't have to be in that episode. He could be. He could be at a symposium. I know.
I don't want Kirk on Strange New Worlds. I don't want him on.
And apparently, we can't say the name Kirk and Strange New Worlds together on this podcast because we'll get. Not with me. If I'm not here to do it. But anyways, they could do that where Spock's like at a symposium or something like that, and when he comes back, like, and the thing is that like. I don't think they'll do it because they already did the short treks, and so it's kind of like. I don't know that they'll do it, but if they did it, I don't think I think if they did do it, it would probably be funny because it's a Tribbles episode.
Oh yeah,
like,
even just a reference.
Maybe.
Like in Star Trek 3.
I think I prefer to see it on Lower Decks.
Yeah,
there was a Tribble in Star Trek Discovery on Lorca's desk on his standing desk.
Yeah.
And I thought that
J.J. Abrams movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the whole reason. That's how Kirk comes back to life. Is like McCoy tested on a Tribble. That's right. Test the blood.
They're also in the bar scene in Star Trek 3.
Yes, briefly. That's right. That's right. I love that bar scene. Hey, Doc.
For one to.
What kind of poison? Yeah,
that's not your usual poison.
Yeah, that's not your usual poison. That's what it was. That's right.
Have you guys done all those the original movies with the original cast?
Yeah, we have done them. Where I still have to release my Star Trek 6 one. So yeah, you can go check them out. But I'm happy to talk about them again anytime. So if you ever want to do
I think
Spock
has secretly designed a Tribble gun. That he could just just firing Tribbles.
A bit like the t-shirt.
The t-shirt cannon, but for Tribbles.
They could revisit a piece of the action in the Lower Decks. It's true. They've already done a couple of things. Love Your Cat TCC. From Lyra Castillo.
For a little while, yeah.
In DS9, we see Quark play Fizbin in the runabout with Odo in the last episode before they go to the Star Trek First Contact uniforms.
Oh, okay. I'll have to read that one.
Yeah. How many times do we see Dr. Phlox use Tribbles on Enterprise? Did we?
I don't think we do.
Yeah, I don't think we see a Tribble
on Enterprise.
No. We see a Tribble being used in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, in the bar scene with McCoy. We already went over that. There was a Tribble living next to a bowl of fortune cookies on Lorca's desk. I thought they were going to use this to reveal Ash Tyler as a Klingon. Spoilers, sorry for anyone who hasn't seen Star Trek Discovery. But sorry, Sub-Commander Tall. I know you stick to the
original all finishes to see it all.
I'm not going to remember what you said. So
okay, all right. Fine. But right, Ian, didn't you think that would come into play at some point? But
Sub-Commander hasn't seen Discovery either?
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think Sub-Commander Tall has only seen the original series, films, and TNG. Right? Did I get that right?
And some Deep Space Nine.
Some Deep Space Nine.
You should host us watching Discovery for the first time.
In season 1, episode. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, but I think they just did that just to tie a little bit into Star Trek. I don't think they were going. I don't think they looked at it that deeply with the Lorca bit. I don't think they even thought of that. I think they just used it.
That Fizbin reference. I mean, Fizbin is not a thing. That was totally invented by Kirk on the fly. That shouldn't exist independently.
Exciting. That's kind of exciting email, but we'll talk about it off air.
Oh, nice.
Remind me though.
Okay, we'll remind you. Kirk and Picard have worn 2 different uniforms. Yeah, that's right. He was wearing his green wraparound in this episode. How come future captains don't? Cisco wears the vest, I feel like, which is like a variant, right? Like sometimes they'll
Picard wore the vest as well in First Contact as well.
Yeah, but like on the show, Cisco. And then Janeway, does she wear a variant? I guess she wears a tank top sometimes. Like she just has her tank top on. Maybe.
Yeah, I think they're saying more that you had a variant uniform.
Variant uniform.
Picard had, but there was no real. Yeah, but there was no real variant uniforms for Cisco, Janeway, Archer.
The only reason
it'd be quite interesting to see if they introduce one for Pike in Strange New Worlds.
TNG also had a lot of variations because they were trying to figure out how to make them comfortable too.
Yeah, they did.
Well, the only reason they came up with the wraparound for Kirk was in The Enemy Within, when they needed something for the audience they felt they needed something for the audience to see. This is the bad Kirk. This is the good Kirk. The good Kirk's wearing the wraparound right now. Yeah. Even though actually they messed up the filming one sequence where he goes from wearing. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but that's why and also I think they brought it back in the 2nd season because Shatner's waistline was getting kind of expanding, and it was a little slightly more flattering than the usual.
A little bit more forgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always made me. As a kid, I always thought, why is he wearing green where they're always in gold? But the original uniforms were green, but they came out gold on film, and that's why you had a green wraparound, because Command was always green; it wasn't gold.
The episode from DS9 was Sanctuary, so I'll definitely check that out. That's very cool. Dave Macaulay says, "G'day from Australia. My favorite Tribble episode is Trials and Tribulation. Such a good episode. Thanks for watching from Australia. It's good to have you. Do you think Star Trek needs good villains? I think they have some good villains.
We've had good villains. There has been good villains. I think we mentioned a few. I think you could actually say, search for Spock, Khan. You've got, there are good villains that are out there.
And I think Star Trek stays away on the whole from especially later Star Trek stays away on the whole from a true villain. Usually there's
right, I was gonna say they have antagonists.
Right, exactly.
But villains per se.
Yeah. Khan is an exception.
Khan
would be a true villain. Maybe Kruge could be a villain.
I think of Audra. She wasn't really a villain. She was just trying to get money and power. With this whole bullshit myth story that she was doing.
I guess the Borg Queen could be a villain.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
they don't have many.
Though.
I mean, most of the drama comes out of the situations that they're in, or it's some alien culture problem that they're trying to figure out, rather than it's just a black hat. But the couple bona fide villains they do have are pretty good, I think.
I like when Star Trek villains are deep, because we have. Yeah, Khan is obviously very angry and full of revenge, but you can kind of see why he would be annoyed if you were in that situation and you were on that barren planet.
Even Khan's not a black and white villain. It's true, there's a lot of complexity to him as well. You're right.
That's sorry to talk about another show, but that's partly why I was so disappointed with Discovery Season 3 is Osira. I thought she was quite two-dimensional.
Yeah, I think Osira did fall flat. I was hoping for more from Osira as well. Dukat was a villain. Yeah, it's true. Emissary of the Pirates is the devil, basically. That's true. But again, a villain with a very interesting journey. I mean, definitely a villain though.
It'd be interesting to really sit down and list out who would be considered a true villain versus antagonist in Star Trek.
How do we get on villains? We're talking about Tribbles.
I know.
Because the Klingons.
The greatest villain of all, the Tribbles.
The Tribbles are a villain.
The most likely.
I guess
Tribble.
I guess we'll get to wrapping up, but real quick, so apparently there was like a battle or a war between the Klingons and the Tribbles, and I would love to see like imagery of that battle. I would love to see like Klingons with batlets that have like Tribbles on the end, and just like they're like
Ewoks.
Yeah, like
that needs to be like a 4-episode miniseries on
the Tribble War. Because you imagine the Klingons having that necklace of all the Tribbles that they've killed.
The Great Tribble Hunt, I think it's called, or something like that. And the Klingons barely won, right? Like, it was very difficult. It was like something like
that makes my estimation of Klingons go down a notch.
It's like hundreds of Tribbles jumping on a Klingon. Like Tribbles like forming into like a man Tribble and grabbing a batless.
Oh my gosh! See, look,
these Tribbles have no honor. You know,
we always end up writing for the. Oh yay, Trekker Prize! We dropped a mention for you earlier. Oh wait, here we go. Tell me, are there great Klingon songs of the Great Tribble War? Yes,
that's probably what that Melota song, that one
Melota Tribble.
And I haven't seen Trials and Tribulations in a while. What was like I know there's some retcon about why the Klingons in the original series didn't have the bumps versus, apart from the makeup concerns. Does he say something?
He just says we don't talk about that outside.
He goes around saying it's a long story and he never really goes into it.
Okay.
He says it's something that they don't talk about.
All right. Okay.
If you want an explanation for that, then you'd have to watch Affliction and Divergence, the Enterprise two-parter, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so there is something out there, but then how come Koloth and Kor return and now they're bumpy headed when they're actually? Did they figure that out too?
Apparently, over time, it takes time when you're cured of this virus to like return to that way. I think that at some point, someone should retcon and just say that the Klingons are just obsessed with like changing their physiology to the most optimal physiology or something like that, or maybe they're
into that. They're
instead of being big warriors, they're not big warriors. They're maybe they have trouble fighting Klingons and they're plastic surgery obsessed. So it's actually a totally different culture than what we've
been thinking.
I also remember in some of the books they were saying about it that the ones that had smooth foreheads were like lesser Klingons. They actually sort of treated them as a lower form of Klingon, so that they were treated with contempt.
They could probably also do a retcon where they just say that like initially they created like, because of now that we have like the Ash Tyler and like things like that, they can say that they created like a whole like division of Klingons to look more human, to infiltrate the Federation, specifically to infiltrate Earth. But now that their mission is done, they could be returned to their original form. So maybe Koloth and these guys like were part of that division, and so for a while they looked more human than Klingon, and they probably hated it.
I'm a Klingon with a K. That's a Klingon with a C. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
You know what I'm saying?
It's funny.
Talk bad, people.
That really works because if I remember correctly, the Klingons were experimenting with augment DNA, like Khan, but didn't go well for them. And I can't remember the Klingon's name, but to kind of fix it, he says, Archer says to him, I think Klingon reconstruction surgery or cranial reconstruction surgery might become quite popular, so maybe he branched into some kind of plastic surgery venture.
But then there's that TNG episode where everybody's de-evolving and Worf becomes a fucking monster.
A crustacean of some kind.
The acid and everything else. Yeah.
That's really funny. That's like, I don't know. I don't know what I think about that. I mean, it's creative,
like
but it's like trying to. Well, how come the shuttlecrafts back in the old days had strings hanging off them? So let's retcon what this is. No, it was the special effects of the day. But anyway,
Tribbles should have been a huge toy product line. I think they could have been bigger than they have been. It's true. I feel like Tribbles have, as we were talking, have the potential to be pillows or
beanbags,
and things like that. So
Tribble
hats,
hat?
Tribble. I had a Tribble hat. I feel like I'm wearing a Tribble on my head right now, as a matter of fact. Tribble Wars would be great. And hello, Laurie Hughes. I think this is your first time commenting, so thank you very much. And then finally, let's see. The lesser Klingons were mentioned in the Seekers books. Oh, that's cool. Gene therapy towards war dog orientation, and then the Ferengi must have crashed a lot of latinum with all those plastic surgeries. Yeah, they probably did catch a lot of latinum. All right, so my final thoughts on this episode is that I just remembered it being fun when I was a kid, and I always enjoy it. It never gets old. In fact, every time I watch it, I feel like I notice something new. And while I agree that nothing really happens that's like life-changing or anything like that, it's just an example of a good fun episode with lots of character moments and humor and stuff like that. So I'm going to give this episode a 10 because it's just like an iconic episode and it deserves a 10 in my book.
Wow,
so
10 from you.
A 10 I know. Right? Whatever.
According to my charts, that's only happened 98%.
Whatever, Martian. Whatever. Audience chime in with your. By the way, chime in, audience, with your ratings of this episode. I'd love to hear it. EGT, what did you think?
I like that the start of the episode makes you think it will be a Klingon heavy, political, serious episode, and then it just is pretty comedic. And just like with Space Seed and the Wrath of Khan adding a lot to the story, Trials and Tribulations adds a lot to this story. I love the idea that Cisco is why all those Tribbles drop in Kirk's head. And I'd give it a 9.
Yeah.
On to you, our Admiral.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I loved it as a kid. I still love it now. It's it's not one of them, as we've said, it hasn't got the structure, but it's well paced. It doesn't. It's not one that drags. We've said it's probably one of the was potentially a filler episode, which is better than a lot of some of the non-filler episodes. But yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I give it a 9, and it's one of my favourites. It's in there. If I was to do a list of top 10 TOS episodes, the Trouble with Tribbles would be in that top 10.
Very nice, Martian.
Good comedic episode. It definitely has good pacing. It never drags or anything. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say. I give it a 6.
Our lowest rating in the panel so far. Sub-Commander Tall, take us out.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm gonna bring the average up with another 10 out of 10.
Yes.
This one. I have very fond memories of it, and it's one of the few episodes my daughter really loves to watch. I don't think I can improve on what you guys have said, but I think it just shows the versatility of this format of the show. I mean, that you could have Star Trek have successful episodes that were sort of horror-like. You could have episodes. There was a courtroom drama. You could have episodes that are pure sci-fi, and you could have a comedy episode, and the actors were all up for the challenge. I love that they each have a moment, as Ian pointed out. So I think this is an episode that never gets old, and definitely iconic for me. So 10 Tribbles out of 10, or however you do
nice.
it.
And
I think you've got something to read out, haven't you?
I have. Yes, I do. I was just going to do that. That's awesome. So let me pull up. Okay, so we have a special message from Tilly, who's also in our audience. Hi, Tilly. How's it going? So Tilly says, I rated it lower tonight compared to you all. And so the rating is...
Lower
hang
than
on.
me, too? That was pretty
No, I don't think so. I think, here, let's see. We got... Okay, so the message is... Okay, so Trouble with Tribbles is one of the only episodes I do remember watching as a child, and it's a great episode. It's fun, and I give it an 8.5 stars, so it's higher than Ruben gave it. And don't any of you dare make it any less. They should have done so. Ruben, you have a chance. You can't be lower than an 8.5. They should have done a sequel in season 3 as they originally planned to do. Fun fact: in the bar fight, the tables all get broken, but the chairs remain intact because they were rented and couldn't be smashed to bits.
That's great.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Miss you all, love you big time, and hopefully see you soon. End quote. So there we go. Thanks, Tilly, for sending that along. We missed you too, but family time is good time, so I can appreciate that. Also, I think the reason Ruben gave it such a low rating, let's see here. Okay, nothing's happening when it's next to Earl Grey Trekkie. Let's see. Okay, nothing's happening when it's next to our Dadmiral. Okay, let's see. Nothing's happening next to some Commander Tall. But all of a sudden, whoa! I just choked on my.
There was a war between my people and the Tribbles long ago. I still remember.
So there you have it. That's what happened. PJ from
I wonder
Boat
if you shave a Tribble in the right spot, do you see little butt cheeks?
They don't. I don't think they poop. I don't think they poop, Ruben. They just reproduce. That's funny. And I think Tribbles have a cloaca, not a butt. It's like they're like birds in that way. Boatwreck gives this
bioscience reference there. I like that.
Crypto.
It gives a whole new meaning to skid marks as a Tribbles.
Oh my. We got Boatwreck giving this episode a 9. Chicken sandwich and coffee hold the Tribbles. By the way, I don't know what chicken sandwich Kirk was eating, but there was nothing that resembled any kind of chicken sandwich. It was just those little the melons again.
The food cubes.
So the food cubes. So maybe one of those food cubes was chicken sandwich flavored. I don't know.
Yeah.
But a 10 out of 10 from them, 12 from Lori Hughes. Tracker Price says anything under a 10 is a fake rating, in my opinion.
sorry, Tracker Price.
Nice one, Gary.
Lyrac also gives it a 10 out of 10. Wait, 20 out of 10. Wait, 40 out of 10. The Rubenbot scale is hard to understand. What is a 10 Rubenbot? That's funny. All right, very cool. Everyone, please check out these lovely, lovely folks at their respective places on the internet. You can see Sub Commander Tall with the same screen name on Twitter, right?
Yep.
And do you want to give some of your other fun accounts, or do you want people just stumble on those?
Who, me? I only have one other account.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's Mr. Leslie TOS. It's Sub Commander T and Mr. Leslie TOS if you want sort of a deep dive, red shirt, jokey kind of.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Go check it out. I love that. You could possibly one day be like Mike McMahon and run a Star Trek show just because you have a funny Twitter. So that could totally happen.
Thank you.
You can check out the Dadmiral over on Trek Cat. What's the latest?
I've stayed. My YouTube has taken a backseat for a little while. I haven't done anything for a while, so maybe something will come up in the future. But no, it's primarily my Instagram and my Twitter feed at the moment. The YouTube will come back when, I don't know. I'm just taking a break from it all. So I want to get some building, but hopefully I'll be moving house soon as well. So when I've moved, I'll start doing some stuff again.
Very cool. Oh wow! I'd offer to come help you move, but it's quite a journey.
A bit of a journey to do that. Yeah.
To do that, although I love doing moves.
I'm only moving about a quarter of a mile away, so I'm not moving that far.
That's cool. EGT, you could check him out on Earl Grey Trekkie on YouTube as well as on Twitter. And we're doing a regular watch along series with him. Right now we're focused on Batman. The next one is going to be The Dark Knight Returns, right?
The Dark Knight.
Oh, why did I say Returns? I don't know why I said that. It's
You
just
can
the
check
Dark Knight.
me out.
The Dark
on
Knight Returns.
It's gonna be the 10th Batman movie coming out in 2026 from Warner Brothers.
You can check me out on Instagram at Robbie Duffield, but that's basically just Star Trek quote stories.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, check out Robbie's channel where we also do Doctor Who discussions. We're recording one straight after this, which is going to be the 2-part finale, Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. And The Martian, you can check him out at ruben-writes.com. You can also check him out at Pop Axiom. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Popaxiom.com, ruemorg.com, ruben-writes.com.
You can also check him out on this show and Starfleet Boy After Dark a lot of times, and he can also be found having his scripts being read or produced as plays. Yep, very cool.
Indeed. I'm all over the place. I want to answer the question, though. What is a 10 for me? And I am in the camp of fathery where I don't really get ratings, so I just say whatever number.
What number pops into your head first?
Feels roughly appropriate to my feeling. It's a good episode. It's not a great episode.
Yeah, we just keep doing ratings because we started out that way on Starfleet Boy, but it's the same thing. My ratings, as you know, are from my gut too. It doesn't really always mean that it's like reflective of the quality or whatever.
It's a rarity if it's not a 10, to be honest.
It is a rarity. I love Star Trek. What can I say? I really love.
Well, that's the funny thing. I can watch almost any Star Trek episode. Like it's like especially TOS, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. Like I'll watch any episode. I don't care, even the Voyager Salamander episode. I mean the Osaka is ready masks episode. You know, like the supposed worst episodes of all time. They're all great to me. So they're all 10 in a way.
Yeah,
Cat's Paw.
No. Yeah. Did you get that episode of 10?
I'm gonna make a shirt that says Team Cat's Paw.
Team Cat's Paw. It's a really good idea. I feel like you could make a shirt of that cat, like, you know, swiping at like a planet or something or a Klingon ship, and it would be really funny. Lyrex says, "Thank you, great chat. I must be tending to my ship. Au revoir." So must we. We must bid you all adieu to live long and prosper, everybody, and we will see you next